How often do you think about the Roman Empire? Does it pop up in your thoughts when discussing strategy, engineering, or how ancient civilizations still influence modern society? If so, then you'll love my guest for today, who's on an endless quest for knowledge in the new paranormal. Ladies and gentlemen, ghouls and goblins, please welcome Vince Pontrias. Vince! Let's begin with a lightning round. Favorite movie?
Jurassic Park.
Favorite Halloween costume from your youth?
I didn't start Halloween until I was 7 when I moved to Canada. So, when I was 9, I was an alien with like a glow-in-the-dark mask and like a little cape with a purple hood on it. I was like a little creepy little overlord.
What's the strangest purchase you've ever made?
I recently got like a little cage.
Oh, one for your cats?
Like a chastity cage.
Oh.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
my.
I haven't worn it long, but I mean, again, I'm just testing the waters on that aspect of my sexual life. But yeah.
What ancient civilization would totally kill at Instagram?
I feel like I'm copping out on this, but like the Romans, absolutely. The Romans would absolutely kill it on social media. Their strategy was literally just take other people's stuff and showcase it as their own. So I feel like that's very one-to-one with social media.
If you could only subscribe to one YouTube channel for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Mini Minute Man.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, why history? What about this subject fascinates you?
It's not just history, though. That's the thing. I'm going into archaeology, right? I'm trying to walk in the footsteps of Indiana Jones, Lara Croft, and all that.
I know
But
them.
history is the more digestible form of archaeology. You're able to showcase history better than what I really am doing, which is archaeology.
Studying to become an archaeologist, eh? I guess you can say your life is in ruins. That's a joke I've always wanted to say. Glad I dusted it off. I've been told not to go out with archaeologists because they date everything. But really, there's no future in that. But I'm sure your mummy would be proud. Please, continue.
I find interesting connections between what happens today and what happened way back when. But it's not exactly one-to-one, right?
It's not?
The pressures that we live in today aren't exactly like what they experienced in Renaissance Italy or in the Mayan times or say in Qing China. We're living in a time of very contentious situations, you know? And I see some similarities with what we do today and particularly Renaissance time Europe. There's a lot of oligarchies, there's a lot of trade monopolies, there's a lot of just it's a lot.
It sure is a lot.
It's a lot, but I find little bits and pieces everywhere that I can kind of connect together, you know? There's a saying that history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And I live by that.
Say that again.
History doesn't repeat, it rhymes.
Thank you. I didn't ask you to repeat it because your quote was so powerful. I asked you to repeat it because I'm a ghost and I have no auditory nerves. Now, if you could give a TED Talk on any historical topic, what would it be?
How a Franciscan friar who liked Mayan titties a bit too much burned down their entire culture. Basically, the story of Diego de Landa, a Franciscan friar living in the Yucatan. He lived in the 1500s, mid 1500s, He was sent there by the King of Spain to essentially convert the Mayan people into Christianity. He took it a bit too far, just a little bit too far. Once he found out that these indigenous communities were still worshipping what were called pagan gods, he instituted an auto de fe, which is basically an inquisition within the New World. So he rounded up 4,000 Mayan idols and codices and burnt it in front of all of those communities. It is said that about 4,000 people died during his Inquisition. And this was because of one man. This one priest had the government of New Spain in Mexico by the balls, and essentially was like the top dog in that space for a good 2 years before the Bishop of Mexico had to come to the Yucatan himself to say, fucking stop it. These are people. These people have rights now. Like, this guy, Bernardino de Sagahun, over where I'm at, he's working actively to just help these people and like educate them, which is again another form of colonialism, but at least it's like a better form of colonialism rather than outright killing them and burning all of their culture, right? So in the end, Diego de Landa burned all of their codices. Only 4 remain to this day. They are the largest source of Mayan information that we have, along with a book that he wrote after his Inquisition to prove to the courts in Spain that he was not such a bad guy, that this Inquisition was justified because A, they were still worshiping their idols, and B, I used this time to actually educate myself on their culture. So here you go. This is the remnant of Mayan culture.
What do you call an Aztec Mayan snake god tied in a knot? Pretzelquatl. Look, there are hundreds of jokes being thrown around on this show. Not all of them are going to be winners. What's the most hilariously bad decision a historical leader ever made? And how would you roast them if they were alive?
Hannibal staying in Rome for 15 years without even conquering them. Like, I can't even roast the guy because he is probably like the greatest general of all time ever to exist. Probably even better than the Roman general that beat him, Scipio. But he just stayed in Rome for a good 15 years. He crossed the Alps, he got into Rome, and he just amassed an army of barbarian tribes that the Romans were trying to subjugate, and they followed him into battle. But he decided to just stay in southern Italy for 15 years without actually conquering Rome. During that time, Rome was amassing its own army and planned to take Carthage, Hannibal's hometown, basically. So that 15 years could have been spent actually, changing the course of history, essentially. Like, if Hannibal took over Rome, we wouldn't have the existence that we have today. We wouldn't be speaking English, essentially.
I hear that particular tyrant was only a foot tall, because he was a ruler. What historical artifact would you love to hold in your hands, and why?
The Holy Grail. It represents medieval Latin Christian culture to a T.
What does Jesus eat on a hike? Grail mix. Vince, what's a historical what-if scenario that keeps you up at night?
If Diego de Landa didn't burn all of those artifacts. I mean, like, people say, like, oh, the great burning of the Library of Alexandria. Oh, if that didn't happen, we would have so much more knowledge today. You could say that about a lot of things, I mean, that also applies to the burning of the codices of the Maya. But I have such a passion for this specific culture where it's like, if that man didn't burn all of those, we would know so much more about those people.
You're an assassin with a massive amount of general knowledge. You should change your name to John Wikipedia. Or don't listen to me. What do I know besides how to manipulate time and perception? Imagine you and I on an epic quest, changing history as we know it. But that's a micro-budget limited web series for another day. Vince, thank you for shooting the sheet with me today.
This was such a good little conversation piece.
My friends, I must ghost you for now. Until next time, goodbye.